Hi, and thank you for joining me for this on-demand presentation. I'm so glad that Sharon found a way for us to all connect and learn together, despite the current situation that we're in. I'm Edie Goldberg. I'm president and founder of E.L. Goldberg & Associates. My talent management consulting firm helps companies to attract, engage, retain, and develop talent. In addition to my day job, I'm also on the SHRM Foundation board. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the SHRM Foundation, we're the charitable arm of SHRM. So if you're ever looking for a way to give back to your profession, we'd be a great place to do that. So now, on for the real show. I want you to join me in creating a movement to fundamentally change the way in which we work. An approach to work where we focus on the work that has to get done and not boxing people into a job that limits them, which allows a more flexible and agile workplace. An approach to work that gives people more diversity and choice in the work that they do, that enables us to bring all of our passions and our interests to work, and allows us to bring all of our skills and experiences to get important work done. I believe this new approach to work, where we create inside gigs to facilitate talent mobility, will help your organization increase organizational productivity, improve engagement, and improve creativity by helping us to tap into more diverse ideas around our organization. In the next hour, you will gain the knowledge that you need to help your organization change this approach to work. I'm going to start by sharing with you our business case for change. And then I'll share a new talent operating model supported by 6 core principles that will help you fundamentally change the way in which you work. In today's very challenging business environment, where employees are being displaced right and left, a talent operating model like the Inside Gig, while not originally designed to support the current economic situation that we're in, can really be used to help you reskill employees and better deploy or redeploy the talent that you have in your organization. Of course, I'm going to close all of this off by sharing with you a case study to show you what's possible. The ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you have been memorialized in our new book called The Inside Gig, which I co-authored with Kelly Stephen Weiss. The ideas that this book centered on were really designed to help solve a very challenging business problem by my co-authors' organization. They needed to become more agile as an organization to address the quickly changing business dynamics of their company, as well as helping employees to continuously reskill and upskill in the workplace as they saw their skill sets rapidly shifting. We looked to the rise of the gig economy to understand that employees want more diversity and choice in the work that they're doing. And another major influence for us was our own personal and professional experience about how companies really underutilize the talent that they have within their organization. So let me share with you an example to kind of bring home this point. We're all familiar with Colgate-Palmolive, and they make toothpaste, the Colgate toothpaste. And several years ago, they came up with an idea to add more fluoride to their toothpaste as a competitive advantage for them. So their chemist came up with this new formula, but unfortunately it changed the consistency of the toothpaste and they had problems getting it back into the tubes. So despite all the brilliant chemistry talent that they had in their R&D department, they could not figure out how to solve this problem. But Colgate is a very inventive company, so they decided that they would crowdsource their solution. They went out onto a platform called Innocentive, and they put this challenge out there for somebody to try and figure out how to make the changes to add more fluoride to their toothpaste without changing the consistency of the paste. And somebody very quickly came up with an answer. But what's interesting is the person who came up with the answer wasn't a smarter chemist than they had on staff in the R&D organization. It was an electrical engineer who applied a physics solution to this problem. Now, here's the problem. They paid that individual $25,000 to solve their problem. But Colgate has plenty of electrical engineers and even physicists on staff who could have come up with that solution if the organization had a way to reach out to all the talent in their organization and put that challenge out to them. Author Erica Dewan refers to this as connectional intelligence. You make your organization smarter when you connect the collective intelligence of your organization. Each of you have passions and interests and skills that go beyond your day-to-day job. And you know that our organizations do a terrible job of tapping into that hidden talent within our organization. The Inside Gig is fundamentally about a new talent operating model that will help your organization to unleash the capacity inside by more dynamically matching employees to project opportunities based on their skills and opportunities for learning. So let's start our business case by understanding how our world of work is changing. Our global population is more diverse than it has ever been. Current majorities that make up our, current minority members of our population are soon going to become majorities, certainly here in the US and in Canada. And our workforce is also growing both simultaneously older as baby boomers do not retire and getting younger with the rise of the millennial generation. Millennials are known for wanting more purpose and meaning in their work, and also for demanding constant learning and development opportunities and career advancement. So those are challenges we need to keep in mind. Now, would it surprise you that our workforce population is headed for a crisis? COVID-19 aside, global fertility trends have been decreasing. So our world population is decreasing over time. So if you think we've had talent challenges, just wait for the future. The fourth industrial revolution is bringing us new technologies that are creating an economic game changer as we engage in new economies and use new tools and technology that help us work in ways that were never possible before. Cloud technology, artificial intelligence, high-speed mobile internet, and big data analytics are all changing the way in which we work. And we have this new work ecosystem that is democratizing the work experience and putting more power in the hands of individual employees because we have the technology to work on our own terms. Think about what's happened in the last months in the world where we've had this rapid move to work from home. All of a sudden, this starts to change our organization's ability and willingness to tap into new talent sources from anywhere in the world. So in the past, when we thought about being a global company, that generally meant that we were selling our products globally. But I would say today, that often means that our supply chain, some aspect of our company is global, as well as the talent that we're tapping into is global. And so while we have this world of work that's changing, there are some trends that are impacting all organizations today. Organizational productivity growth is slowing. Despite all the technological advancements that we've had, our productivity growth is still slowing. I believe that this is because we continue to try to do the same things just by automating our existing processes. We need to rethink our approaches to make fundamental leaps in productivity. And all of this is going on when employee engagement is at an all-time low. 63% of employees are not engaged at work. And what this means is you're leaving a lot of productivity on the table, because our research tells us that engaged employees are more productive. And all of this is going on when our talent shortages are at an all-time high in the past decade. And while this graphic represents what's happening in the United States, we see the same kind of trend when we look globally. Over half of the companies globally cannot find the talent that they need to execute on their business strategy. So yes, we're going through a current crisis brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Economists in general have said that they think that we'll have sort of a U-shaped recovery, because there was nothing fundamentally wrong with our economy before this all happened, but we will have a dip in employment for a period of time. But I want to point out the fact that the jobs that we're losing as our unemployment begins to rise aren't the same jobs where these talent shortages exist. So these talent shortages exist despite the fact that unemployment is going up. So with the world of work changing, our rules around work are also changing. We're moving from very profit-driven companies that are really command and control oriented, where we have a very homogeneous work population that's working in these really deep embedded silos, to organizations that are more purpose-driven, where we're engaging in more project-based work with networks of collaborative teams that are being facilitated by these smart workplaces, where we have technology that enables us to reduce some of the friction in our workplace and be more agile, all working with a very, very diverse workforce. The research has been very clear for a number of years about what attracts, engages, and retains our employees. It is access to challenging work, the ability to continuously learn and grow, and new opportunities for career advancement. So we're hearing things like upskilling and reskilling as being some of the hottest trends that are happening in HR today. But before I discuss the desire to continuously learn and grow from your employees' perspective, let's talk about this from your company's perspective. So have you heard that the half-life of skills is only 5 years today? What this means is half of everything that a new college graduate learns will become obsolete within 5 years. And this is actually getting worse, and the half-life of skills is getting smaller, because with the introduction of new technologies, it's making old technologies obsolete really quickly. So organizations need to continuously learn and grow, because everything that we know in the business world is changing rapidly. As a result, a recent Deloitte study told us that 8 out of 10 global managers view learning as important or very important to our organization. But the problem is that most organizations cannot keep up with the demand for personalized, dynamic, continuous learning opportunities. And as a result, they're shifting to more self-directed learning applications. So things like small work projects where you get to learn while doing, or access to massive online open courses, MOOCs, or access to curated content that is specific to a learning opportunity. And when we look at this from an employee's perspective, we see some recent Glassdoor research that says 1 out of 3 employees feels that their company is not using their skills well. So only 1 out of 3 thinks their company is using their skills well. That's pretty low. 42% of these same employees say that they're likely to leave if their organization isn't helping them to continuously learn and grow in their job. But the good news is a 2018 LinkedIn workforce learning study told us that 93% of employees would stay longer if their organization would invest in their career. I love this quote from Clayton Christensen because I think it really summarizes a key point that I'm trying to make here, which is the reason why it's difficult for firms, for existing firms to capitalize on disruptive innovation is because their processes and their business models that made them so effective at what they do today actually make them ineffective for competing for disruption. So the models that we have today helped us be successful in the past, but they aren't appropriate for our organizations today. That is why I'm introducing this inside gig talent operating model that helps change the way we can get work done, to address our need to change our processes to be more aligned with this changing nature of work and the changing expectations of our employees. So when I talk about a talent operating model, I have to explain what I'm talking about. And this really comes from the concept of what is a business operating model. So this example is taken from Bain Consulting. And your business model always starts with your strategy and your values. And then the components of the business operating model are the structure and the governance of your organization, as well as the accountabilities. Where does the profit and loss accountabilities lie within your organization, as well as those ways of working? And when I talk about a talent operating model, I'm talking about these ways of working, and then the capabilities that support those ways of working, the people, the process, and the technology capabilities that all support the way of working. And when we execute against this operating model, we can then execute on our business strategy. As I thought about these ways of working and how they needed to change, I set out to build a new talent operating model that would leverage my learning from the gig economy and apply some of those concepts within your organization. Our book actually uses 2 whole chapters to describe this new talent operating model. The first chapter talks about new ways of working, and the second chapter really talks about how to align your HR processes to support those new ways of working. So the icons that you see on the screen right now represent some of the key concepts that are shared in this talent operating model. I'm going to describe them as they pertain to some of the 6 core principles that support the inside gig. When you adopt this new way of working, this new talent operating model, your organization can improve organizational productivity by implementing new ways to bring new teams together with the right people to help optimize the outcomes that your organizations are trying to achieve. It'll help facilitate more personalized learning opportunities for your employees, and will help increase employee engagement by providing an employee experience that your employees are looking for. So the foundation underlying this new talent operating model are the 6 principles of the inside gig. The first principle, you get what you give. It's based on the idea that talent sharing across organizational boundaries is a better way to optimize the talent of your organization. And that's the symbol that you see here. What this means is that managers give away some of their talent resources. They let their employees work on some projects outside of their day-to-day job. And what they get in return is talent from elsewhere in the organization who have the skills or the passion, the interest, the energy to help those managers be successful on the projects that they have facing them. So you get what you give requires managers to change their mindset from a mindset of talent scarcity, where we covet and we hoard the talent on our team, to a mindset of abundance, where we view all of the talent in the organization as potential talent that we can tap into to execute on our biggest organizational priorities. Now, many of you are familiar with the term internal talent mobility. And traditionally, this has meant an employee moving to a new job to get a learning experience. The inside gig talent operating model breaks this up and does this a lot more flexibly by not requiring somebody to completely leave their job, but just allowing them to make a little bit more room for a new project that's outside of their day-to-day responsibilities. Let me share what this looks like from a real client example. A client of mine had an engineering team that had developed a new technology platform that would help teams within the company execute on their work faster. So this engineering team had identified the company's data scientists as an ideal group to first use this new technology platform. So they set out to build a toolkit to help the data scientists use their platform. But very quickly, one of the engineers went running into his boss's office and said, "Boss, you asked us to create this new internal toolkit, but the data scientists, they all code in Python and we all code in Java. We speak different languages." And the engineering manager said, "Oh my God, this is a nightmare. What are we going to do? I don't know anybody who codes in Python. And frankly, I don't have the budget or the time to hire a contractor who knows how to do that." But then he said, "Wait, we just implemented a new talent mobility platform. Let's go put a project on the platform and see if we can find people in the company that have Python programming skills." And sure enough, within moments of putting this on the platform, he was able to identify 6 people from around the organization that had Python skills and were willing to help out on this project. Those employees' managers were willing to give their employees time to work on this project and learn their Python skills because they saw the value to both the organization and the customer in creating this toolkit in Python. The engineering manager said, "My ability to borrow talent within our organization afforded me the opportunity to upskill the skills on my team while still meeting my project deadlines. It is very clear to me that if we didn't have this new way of working, this project would have never gotten off the ground." So when you get what you give and you implement talent mobility within your organization, your company can borrow the skills that it cannot buy in the short term. Most business executives understand the term supply chain management. So I use the term talent supply chain management to get at what I'm talking about here. You need to have an accurate inventory of all the skills that you have in the company, not what people do in their day-to-day job, but what people could do if you need them to do it. That is what Know What You Have is all about. It's about creating a skills inventory, and that's what the symbol represents. By having, if you look at your current human capital management systems, all of those systems categorize people by their job title, not by the skills we have. And many people would argue that LinkedIn might even be a more accurate and up-to-date view of your employees' skills, because your human capital management system kind of gets stale because it maybe only has what people are doing for their job, but certainly only for when somebody got hired in your company. So I want you at home to take a test with me right now, a talent inventory test. How many web developers do you have in your company? Not by job title. How many of your employees could build a website if you needed them to? How many of your employees are deep experts in Excel? Right now at home, I want you to raise your hand if you think your company has an accurate inventory of all the skills that your employees have, not just the skills they use in their day-to-day job, but all the skills of your employees. I'm willing to bet you that very few of you actually have your hand raised. If your organization is going to change and pivot in a new direction, how will you know who's liable to who can make that change with you? How will you know who to train first? When you make your talent visible, you can manage your talent supply versus demand, and you can optimize your use of the talent that you have within the organization. Earlier, I shared with you that employees want to continuously learn and grow. And given the half-life of skills, employees need to continuously learn and grow. So our third principle is create a learning organization. And here we see 3 icons from the talent operating model. The first icon represents the fact that at the core of the new ways of working is developing new leadership behaviors and a company culture that supports the idea that we all need to be continuously learning. We need to develop a growth mindset within the organization. The second icon represents the fact that we need to leverage social technologies to help us build skill communities so that we can be building new capabilities within our organization. When people can come together, let's say you want to develop the capability around artificial intelligence within your organization. You can get employees together to work on projects together, to share their learnings, to share different on-demand courses that they're taking, et cetera. But when we have skill communities, we can help to build the capabilities of our company. And the third icon represents both micro learning opportunities and access to on-demand learning. Our organizations need to move away from this old idea of classroom training that happens generally during key inflection points of an individual's career and move to more learning while doing. What I find is very interesting, most organizations have been focusing on the need to reskill and upskill organizations, but recent research from Accenture says that 1 out of 4 executives believe that their employees are actually resistant to learning new skills. But the data does not support that. 67% of employees and actually 75% of millennials want to continuously learn and grow new skills. They understand the importance of learning to their very own career survival. So we need to change the way in which we're learning and move to some more micro learning opportunities, learning while doing. Let me give you an example of a company that has done this. Cisco Systems, a number of years ago, had made a major pivot from being really focused on server technology to becoming a cloud-based company that's focused on the Internet of Things. When they looked out into the labor market, they realized that they could not change all the employees in the organization and just go out and hire people with the new skills. They realized that they had to build their own. So what they did was they created what they called a talent marketplace, where people could post projects on an internal platform. And then employees could opt in to participate on those projects for learning so that they could develop Internet of Things skills while doing important work to help in the company's transformation. Internal talent mobility helps facilitate these micro learning opportunities that help employees to build new skills. And a company that creates a learning organization will have a competitive advantage because that is what attracts, engages, and retains talent. Historically speaking, organizations have held all the power and control in the employment relationship. But the democratization of work refers to a shift in this dynamic to be more on equal footing, because with technology and those high level of skill gaps, we find that employees have more choice at work. And we see that with the rise of the gig economy. And the new technologies that we have available to us are not only changing how work gets done, but it's also creating new experiences for employees to have at work. So the technologies that we have available to us today allow artificial intelligence to dynamically match the skills of our employees to work opportunities, and that democratizes the work experience. So going back to the Cisco example, their employees got to go onto this platform and choose short-term projects or inside gigs. And then they got to choose what projects they wanted to work on to help build their skills. Our ideas here marry the democratization of work with you get what you give to enable us to break work down into projects that will help us to optimize our use of talent in the organization by letting people lean into those things where they're really skilled at it or they're very interested in it. And that's what this icon really represents, is the ability to choose the projects that are of interest to you. This is one of the fundamental differences between our talent operating model and the way companies like Cisco have used theirs strictly for development purposes, or companies like Google, who have allowed people to opt into innovation projects, all on top of their day job. But our model, which breaks work into projects, allows people to work on projects where they are working at their best or their highest level of interest, and allows them to maybe step away from work where they're not adding as much value. So let me give you a personal example of that. I develop a lot of PowerPoint presentations for either public presentations like this or working on client projects. And so you could say developing PowerPoint presentations is a really core part of my job. But a number of years ago, I realized I'm really slow at developing these presentations, and I'm not particularly creative in the visual graphic arts area. And I realized that if I take this project and I set it aside and allow somebody else to do that work who's really good at it, who gets really excited about that kind of work, then I can make more room for work where I can add more value. And that democratizes my work experience. Our new talent operating model results in a shift from organizations that have these very traditional hierarchical structures to more nimble, team-based structures that allow teams to come together, to form, to expand, and then to contract as your business dynamics are constantly shifting. Let me give you an example of what this looks like from the music industry. When Lady Gaga wants to produce an album, she brings together a team of people, all who have different areas of expertise, who will contribute to the project. And then when the project is over, they all disband and they move on to separate gigs. That's where gig economy first came from. But that very same model actually exists in biotech companies when they put together product development teams to take a molecule and bring it through to the drug development phase. People from different parts of the company come together to work on this product development team to share their expertise, and that team grows and contracts as it goes through the phases of drug development. So regulatory skills aren't needed till much later in the process, so those people may not come in and play a role until later. But what's very important to note is when these teams come together, those employees who are working on the teams, they keep their home job. So if I'm a chemist and I'm working on a product development team and I'm the chemistry lead there, I'm still working in the chemistry department and I still have responsibilities in the chemistry department. I just work with my manager to make room for me to work on this product development team because of its importance to the overall company's success. So to create a more agile organization, we need to be able to move talent around within the organization and let people work on projects where they can add the most value. Today's business problems are so complex that we often need cross-disciplinary teams to deal with the many interwoven challenges that appear across parts of our business. And I believe that being agile is really important to a company's success today. We can be agile not just in our structure, but also when we let employees participate in projects outside of their team, outside of the day-to-day things that they do. People become more agile as they learn from other people and they learn to work in new and different ways. Our final core principle is bust the functional silos. Our organization structures have been built to create a lot of stability and control. They have helped us to increase operational efficiencies and reduce redundancies across an organization. But I'm going to argue that many of your corporate structures today have outlived their model. And it's really incumbent upon you to look at those structures to see if they're serving the current needs of your organization. Organizations have developed silos for a whole variety of different reasons, but ultimately they represent the failure of individuals to look at the best interest of the company and instead to only focus on what serves the best interests of their team, their department, or their function. If we want our organizations to be more agile and to share talent across boundaries, we need to bust the functional silos that help us to optimize the work that we're doing by engaging with the most important people to help us to solve our critical problems. So I have shared with you many of these elements of the talent operating model, but not all of them. You will note that some on the right-hand side I haven't talked about yet. So you're just going to have to read the book to understand all of the elements of the talent operating model. But I want us to move on and get into our case study, because I think you'll find this super interesting. The case study comes from my co-author's company, Here Technologies. Here is a 9,000 person location services technology company based in 56 different countries and about $1.9 billion of revenue. In order to execute on this new way of working, we needed technology to enable the talent mobility. When I started studying this new approach to work, all of the companies that I studied had developed their own internal technology. That goes for the Cisco study, the Cisco case that I shared with you earlier. Every company that I've spoken with has developed their own technology platform to help facilitate this kind of work. And that was the case with Here Technologies as well. I'm happy to tell you that today, many new technology platforms have become available. In fact, Here productized their solution, they now call it Hitch, to bring that to more and more companies to enable this way of working. All the different platforms out there have different elements, but if you're going to build your own or buy one, I encourage you to look for one that has 3 components to it: company information, project information, and employee profiles. I have engaged in career management work for decades now, and I can say the biggest challenge most organizations face, or most employees face when navigating their career in an organization, is not being able to understand where to apply their skills in other places in the company. By having company information and being able to tell employees, what do different parts of your company do? What are the kinds of jobs that happen or projects that go on in those different parts of the company? That provides so much information to help facilitate an individual's career. The project element of a platform like this would describe the project opportunities that are available to your employees. So the overall scope of the project, what are you trying to achieve? What are the individual skills that are needed? Is there a location that project is taking place, or is it location agnostic? What's the duration of the project? How many hours a week or a month do I need to contribute to working on it? And then, of course, we have the employee skills profile. This is where you get to bring all of your skills and experiences to work, your passions, your interests, the languages that you speak, where you work, what you want to do. And with these three components, we can now enable talent mobility because you'll have information on the supply of talent within the organization, the demand for skills within the organization, and then that will enable you to more efficiently connect talent to the right opportunities. What I think is really, really cool about the technologies that are available to help us do this is I call it a true opportunity platform. You know that today, most of the cool opportunities in your organization are only going to those people who are politically connected. So if we have a technology that is simply an algorithm that is correctly matching opportunities to the skills of our employees, I call that a true opportunity platform because everybody then is on equal footing. So some of the really cool elements of these platforms are, traditionally, most of our human capital management systems might have, what kind of skills have you demonstrated? I can do this. I've demonstrated these skills. I might say my career interests and aspirations are X, Y, and Z. I want to do this. But the items on the other axis here are what our new technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, et cetera, can help us to extract. The first is this idea of our demonstrated skills. Sometimes employees are unaware of the skills that they actually have. Technology can now look at your body of work on your computer, and it can say, well, the employee's actually demonstrated these skills. You're not calling it out, but we can identify that you've done that. And I find that super exciting. Another very important thing as our skills are constantly shifting in organizations is that we can infer the skills that you might be able to learn rather quickly by looking at what we call skill adjacencies. So let's say your organization is involved in Agile and you are a Scrum Master. We would be able to say that you can probably pick up Kanban really easily. Kanban is a workflow management methodology that's different from being a Scrum Master, but they have very similar skill sets. And so we can infer that you could learn Kanban if we needed somebody with that expertise. So these new technologies allow us to understand the whole person. So let me bring you back to this case study. A number of years ago, Kelly, the CHRO of Here Technologies, had approached me and said, I want to change the way in which we work at Here. I want a way to better match the talent that we have within the organization to the project opportunities that we have. She told me, my CEO came up to me and said, we need to be more agile as an organization. We need to be able to shift to where our business is going on a moment's notice. And we need to improve the speed with which we're getting projects done. And we need to do that while managing our costs, because we can't improve our speed by going out and hiring a bunch of external contractors, because that just costs too much. And so she asked if I would help her on this journey. And I said, of course. So Kelly's team created this technology platform that would enable this new way of working. And I helped to define the talent operating model that would provide the rules for the road, if you will, of the way in which they worked. And in the first year of operating in this way, they had some amazing results. When you looked at the number of project hours that were completed on the platform, it totaled 111 full-time equivalent employee hours given on the platform. And if you calculate this out as the salary, but you only count those people who are working outside of the regular profit and loss P&L responsibility area, they had $114 million of savings. That's huge. What's equally impressive is they were able to increase employee engagement by 9%. But I find some of the statistics on the bottom here also very interesting and important to note. 64% of the projects done on the platform had global teams working on them. So people from different countries actually participating in the project. Think about the global acumen, the cultural global acumen that you build in your company when you get these people to work together across those lines. And everybody says, oh, well, this is only for a technology company. And yes, this is a technology company, and 60% of their projects were technology-based. But 40% of the projects on the platform were not technology projects at all. But most impressive to me is 85% of the projects involved cross-collaborative teams, cross-organizational teams, boundary spanning across different departments, different functions within the organization. So think about the business acumen that those employees are able to gain by seeing those projects through the eyes of another department that has other issues and other challenges that they need to work on. I find these results really fascinating. Sorry. So a lot of people have said, I'm very interested in this approach to work. How do I get my company started on creating inside gigs? We have a pretty simple 3-step process for you to follow. The first is you need to manage the change in your organization. You have to build your business case to help sell your management on this new way of working and help them to understand the potential benefit to the organization of operating in this new manner. I think I've given you a large running start in helping to build your business case. And then you need to assess your organization's readiness to build a custom change plan for your company. Then you need to manage the process. You need to enable the process by getting the right technology to help you do this work. So it's either purchasing technology platform that's out there or knitting together your current systems to help you enable this new way of working. I, of course, think the two most important things that you need to focus on are defining your new ways of working or that new talent operating model and aligning your HR systems to support that new way of working. Now, Rome wasn't built in a day. And you're not going to change all of your HR systems overnight. But it's really important to have a strategy about what is really critical that we have to change right away to send the right message and what can be changed over time. At Here Technologies, we actually developed a 10-year roadmap of how the company would evolve over time. And finally, you have to implement the solution, right? We recommend implementing with 2 or 3 different departments within the company that either have the greatest pull for this kind of work or the greatest need for working cross-boundary. And then collect feedback on how that pilot goes, adjust your change management plan, and then get ready to implement to the rest of the organization. And then continue to assess and evolve your process as you go over time. So in the time that we've had together, I've helped you understand why we need to change our approach to work. I've shared with you the 6 principles underlying a new talent management model that will help you change the way in which you work. And I've shared with you what kind of impact this can have on your organization. There are more stories to tell for a different time. Please join me in creating a movement to change the way in which we work. An approach to work that can help you to better deploy the talent that you have, help you manage the costs within your organization, improve organizational productivity, and improve employee engagement. An approach that will let your employees bring all of themselves to work, where they can engage in projects where they are so deeply engaged that they are so immersed and involved, they're in flow and they're losing all sense of time, so immersed in the work that they're doing, where they can work on collaborative teams, where they can get the best possible outcome for the company and your customers, and where they can have full transparency into the project opportunities to meet their personal and professional needs. You can count on me to share my knowledge and my experiences to help your organization thrive in the future of work. I want to close by leaving you with one final challenge. What small steps can you take today to help your company create internal gigs to share talent across organizational boundaries so you can unleash the capacity that you have within your organization? Thank you.